Miyuko felt as though she was manipulating a small monkey that was curling up its paws.
Welcome to the Ghost. If this is your first show, I'm so sorry. I'd say it's not normally like this, but it is. Hello and welcome to Talk Spooky to Me, the Ghost Story Guys mail show. I'm Brennan Storr.
I'm Paul Bestel.
And this is our opportunity to hear from you, our listeners. Paul Bestel, my friend, you've been filling my head with enough true crime stories to permanently ruin my sleep. And then after this, we're going to have our patron live stream so you can feed me even more and potentially disrupt my sleep for the next week and a half.
Yes, it's been raining. And so obviously I couldn't try and top my tan up that much. And so I've had to indulge my love of true crime mixed with sport in intermittent periods. And that's what I've spent the last week doing.
Sounds good to me. I honestly couldn't tell you what I've been doing this past week, if you ask me. I'm sure something. I don't know what. I did manage last night to sort of catch a particular view of myself I probably could have done without. So I've been playing this new Doom game. Doom the Dark Ages or something like that. Anyways, it's a lot of fun. But I realized I'm going to need laundry. So about 10:30 last night, I go to take the laundry down to the laundry room. But I realized that my card is low. So my charge card is low, so I have to go fill it up at the machine in the lobby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I figure, there's no one around. I'll just go in my PJs. The thing is, I've got black pajama pants and I have a floral button-up shirt, but and this sounds douchebaggy, but my shoulders and chest are too big. I can't button it up anymore. So I'm just hoping that, okay, well, I'm not going to run into anyone. And I didn't. But I did, however, get a look at myself in the elevator's giant mirror, and I looked like a divorced dad-themed WWE wrestler.
Yo, Brennan, how's the divorce going, man?
I look like Captain Lou Albano.
Keep chugging that Miller's, man.
I do recall listening to an interview or reading an interview with Hulk Hogan where they asked him about nutrition. He said, man, back in the day, nutrition was just a bunch of beers after the match.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great diet. I'll be indulging in some of that on Saturday night watching the football.
What a coincidence. Me too. No football, though.
Need to open your mind. It's a great big game Saturday, big game.
Well, I will open my mind. I will open my mind with a number of substances, but for now, I will stick to expanding my consciousness through the medium of listener mail.
Our courteous and efficient staff is on call 24 hours a day to serve all your supernatural elimination needs.
We're ready to believe you.
All right. So as luck would have it, we have a number of actual spooky stories on this week's Talk Spooky. I mean, ordinarily it is, despite the name, maybe a little more freeform in terms of its content.
Like jazz.
That's it. We are the Thelonious Monk of podcasts.
One for the kids there.
Ask your grandparents. Also listen to Miles Davis' Sketches of Spain. It's a brilliant album.
Great advert for why you should never do heroin.
Which, Miles Davis or Thelonious Monk?
Miles Davis's albums.
I will hear is Some Kind of Blue, Sketches of Spain, and Bitches Brew are wonderful. I'm not familiar with most of his other stuff, but I will go to the mat for those ones.
Good for you.
We've given you some Spotify homework now, kids. Have fun with that.
Don't come back until you can tell us who Cleo Lane is.
Actually, I'm going to give you you fine folks, if you're like, oh, what is this jazz business they're talking about? I'm going to give you one more.
Did he say jazz? Thank God.
Hip cat. Most people when they talk about jazz, they talk about old jazz, and old jazz is good, but depending on your point of view. But I was recently put onto the Gia Lee Orchestra, JIHYE space LEE, and I believe she's a Brooklyn-based composer and conductor. Her new album is called Infinite Connections. It is really good. So if you want some modern jazz, you don't want your two internet uncles, granddad jazz, check out G.A. Lee's Orchestra, Infinite Connections. Get yourself some culture. Paul's just like, I want this to be over. I do not want to talk about jazz anymore.
I've been to a stag do in a jazz club. It's one of the worst nights out of my life. Got charged 60 quid for 3 cigars, I think.
I mean, depending on the cigars, that doesn't seem unreasonable.
They were nice, but that would have been nice to have been told the price before I ordered them.
Oh, yeah, that's some sticker shock right there. That's fair. We have a number of spooky stories, as I said, but we're going to start with 4 comments from Patreon before we get into the longer stuff. First up is from Beth. Beth says, my 12-year-old son loves Skibbity Toilet. My 11-year-old daughter thinks it is utterly ridiculous. Must be a young boy thing. I don't get it myself, but he loves it. Beth, if it helps, I also don't get it. I tried watching a little bit that night, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I watched Ren and Stimpy as a kid. I like dumb shit, but no, it's not for me.
I just saw the thumbnail, and I'd seen it.
Fair.
I didn't want to investigate any further.
No, understandable. And for those of you who complained about how much we said the name of the show on that last episode, fear not, for you will. I guess I was going to say you'll never hear Skibbity Toilet on this show again. I shouldn't say that because my oppositional defiant disorder starts going, well, now I'm going to say it all the fucking time. But probably you won't hear it on the show anymore.
Kirili, also on Patreon, says, Australia had the same flake ads. A lady sitting under a tree, eating a flake, being watched by a man, hiding behind another tree. The chocolate weirdo.
So we're adding voyeurism into the mix. There was something happening in the Commonwealth in the 80s. I don't know if it was collective fear of nuclear annihilation, but it just irrevocably broke our brains. It's like London during the Blitz. Everyone's super horny and terrified.
It's on a par there with some of the aftershave adverts of the 70s. If you've never seen the aftershave advert for denim, then you should, really, because it just, no.
Is it like that Charles Bronson one we have on the Instagram where he's just fucking lashing the stuff all over himself?
No, basically it's you don't see anything other than a man's chest and a woman's hand going inside his shirt, and then they do like Christmas theme ones, so that made it even weirder.
Yeah,
you should watch that advert. You'll feel sexy.
All right, well, let's wait the hell. I'll watch it right now. Denon for Men advert. I'm already uncomfortable with the length of her fingernails. Okay, this looks like a horror movie. I should also mention very sinister synth music. This whole thing looks like the introduction to the trailer for a really grim grindhouse slasher film. Like, there's a Spanish slasher called Edge of the Axe that I've seen. This would not be out of place as the preview.
Father Christmas wants his presents back.
Yeah. There's a shot on VHS slasher called Sledgehammer. Is actually less upsetting than that advertisement.
Yes.
All right. Next up, this is just a quick one from Melissa on Patreon. I had to Google Rule 34. Lol. Anyhow, great episode as always. I'm sorry, Melissa. I'm sorry. We all have to learn sometime. There was a podcast. I don't think they're around anymore, but their thing was they would kind of review and read like little bits of erotica to each other, like bad erotica. And I got friendly with them through the Instagram. That's how I met them. I guess there was one particular writer of erotica from one of the websites they cruised who I guess quite enjoyed that they read his stuff, even though his stuff was like uniquely terrible. And he actually started writing further. Like he wrote one of his stories in his, we'll call it his signature style. We're going to be super generous here today on the Ghost Story Guys. And he wrote a story about them. So Rule 34 about these two hosts. And they were delighted. And frankly, I would have stepped off a cliff into the yawning embrace of the ocean if that had been me. But I admired that they were cool with it and seemed actually quite chuffed about it.
Maybe he will be awarded a notice in the annual Bad Sex Writing Awards.
I feel like that's with the advent of self-publishing, that is such a crowded field. There's an account on Instagram. I'm just going to quickly see what her name is. I think it's something like Atomic Apple Pie. And she does a lot of bad erotica on her feed. And it's the funniest shit in the world. Like she is just Yes, it's Atomic Apple Pie _official. Her real name is Caitlin Braun. And she does she'll read on her account a lot of bad erotica, and it is truly bad. Like, this guy still is worse, but I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to send anyone to his stuff because it's nightmarish. But it's like these guys actually think they're good. And if you want to see what people who are trying to make something sexy, what they come up with, go check out Atomic Apple Pie _official, and you will learn some stuff. And just wait for the spray bottle. She's got a spray bottle that she'll sometimes use when something's particularly objectionable, and I fucking die every time. It just slays me.
In 2019, the field was so crowded they had to award 2 winners. I'll read the last line of the first winner.
Okay.
Miyuko felt as though she was manipulating a small monkey that was curling up its paws.
Welcome to the Ghost. If this is your first show, I'm so sorry. I'd say it's not normally like this, but it is.
Yes, I won't read what precedes that, but you can search for the literary awards bad sex writing on Google and chuckle to your heart's content at the atrocious prose and language used. And very strange comparisons, often.
As our good friend Steve Rogers once said, Paul, no, I don't think I will.
Gene on Patreon, bringing it back to earth, says, may suggest a wee road trip to Kingston. The Kingston Penitentiary gave me a very uncomfortable feeling in certain spots. In particular, a large room where our tour sat and listened to a presentation on mental health care. Even now, safe in BC, I can feel it again. As well, the old courthouse parking lot has an aura about it that made me anxious to leave.
I'm not sure what I should take away from this, Gene. You're trying to send me to a place that scared you so badly. You still have nightmares about it a continent away. Bren, you should walk in there with your eyes closed. I do want to go to Kingston. I've heard a lot about haunting in that part of the province. So it's very much on my to-do list, Gene.
I don't want to know what else is on that to-do list.
You really don't.
Is it winning the Bad Sex Writing Awards for 2026?
Fingers crossed. So yeah, Gene, I am. Thank you very much, and I do want to check it out again. I've heard lots about the Kingston Pen. I think we actually did a story on it a long time ago. But yeah, that is very much on the to-do. Also, I want to go check out Niagara on the Lake properly, because when I was there, I really just went to the falls, and then I was watching that Hammerson Peters video on Ontario. He talks a lot about Niagara on the Lake, so I'd like to give that a peek. All right, we are going to take a quick ad break, and we'll be right back with our first story. This one comes from an anonymous contributor. Anonymous says, I have never told anyone about this. This is regarding your conversation about visitors coming in threes. My experience, I was about 6 or 7. I woke up to find 3 little beings at the foot of my mattress and 3 or 4 on the side. They were about 3 feet tall, dressed in brown robes with the hoods on. I couldn't see any features or limbs. I woke up my husband, or tried to, and said, there's all these little men around my side of the bed. I assumed they were male because of the way they were dressed. He groggily said, oh, okay. He could not wake up, and later he didn't remember me trying to wake him up. I didn't feel scared or threatened, just found the whole thing really weird. I went back to sleep. I don't know where they went. I'm convinced that I was not dreaming. And Anonymous, thank you so much. And honestly, I don't think you were dreaming either. What do you think, Paul?
They sound like the lurkers from Phantasm.
They do too. Holy shit, yeah.
Creepy little bastards.
Coscarelli has said that that film is rooted in his dreams.
He must have eaten some fucking crazy cheese.
It was American cheese, so yes. I was going to do a Don Coscarelli voice, and I realized there's like 3 people who would get it, and all of them would say, Bren, that sounds like shit. So I'm not going to do that.
You should have stuck to Wensley Darley.
Those are the guys who were always after Doctor Who, right?
Yes, no, we have a very famous fitness coach here called Joe Wicks, who's done a lot to get kids into exercise, especially during pandemic and stuff. But on one of his videos, he said, "Oh, what you need," because he talks a bit like this, "what you need to do is add a bit of Wensleydale." And all of Britain went, "Wensleydale, you fop."
As well they should. As well they
Top
should.
bloke though, Joe. We'll let him off.
That's fair. We all have our moment.
It's not like Nigella Lawson when she said microwave.
She didn't.
She did.
Seriously?
Yes. On the BBC, no less. Don't know why I pay my licence fee.
But it's all meritocracy, folks. It's all meritocracy. If someone's succeeding, it's because they're the best at it. It's not because their family's wealthy or connected.
Not at all.
But anyways, no, Anonymous, that's really fascinating stuff. I do think there's something there. And I think you're right. I don't think that was a dream. I'd be curious to know the circumstances around it. You know, like what was going on in your life at the time? Were you in a sort of a delicate position mental health wise, or were you stable, or was there stress happening in your life? Like I've told this story on the show before, but I once had a dream. It was back in Victoria when I was really going through the wars, you know, when my depression was just at its peak. And I remember walking in the dream, it was daytime, and I walked out of the bedroom, and instead of the hallway, there was a room full of these guys, kind of looked like NASA guys, you know, in the like 50s and 60s with the white shirts and the black pants and the pocket protectors and shit, and they were working on something. They were all working on something, and I got the impression that it was like for me, but they were working on something. And I woke up, and I remember I was talking to Nick about it, and she said that because my depression had been so bad, she had prayed basically for my family, or for like my guardian angels or whatever, to help me find a solution. And I thought it was interesting that because I was not privy to this, so I thought it was interesting that I had a dream where like there were people trying to work on a solution, but I didn't know what it was to. Who knew all I needed to do was move the fuck out of that city?
Away from the lurkers.
Away from the lurkers. All right. Next up is Paul. I don't know why I'm talking. I just love the sound of my own voice.
And don't we all, baby? Laurie writes, "Hello, Brennan and Paul. I recently listened to your episode when you chatted a little about Chuck Tingle's works. Whilst, yes, the majority of his work has titles like Tran Wizard, Harriet Porber, and The Bad Boy Paracephalophilus, an adult romance novel. Are these really words? He has also written some extremely good regular fiction. The one I've read that will stay with me a long time is one of the most genuinely frightening horror novels I've ever read. Bury Your Gaze. Set in the Southern Californian film industry, the title refers to the trope of killing off gay characters instead of allowing them a full character arc or a happy ending. The pacing is fast, writing is excellent, the characters are realistic and well developed, and the plot? Well, holy shit. I read a lot, especially a lot of horror, and this went in directions I didn't anticipate, but which absolutely worked. Both realistic and paranormal horror are represented in the novel. As always, I want to let you know how much I appreciate what you do. My household has been listening pretty much since GSG started, and at this point it's like overhearing old friends chatting. We love the stories and the banter, and we hope you keep making episodes for a long time to come. Sincerely, Laurie. P.S. Monster Shifter romances are amazing. I'd recommend you understand better by reading a fun one. This doesn't sound like fun to me. Like That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming.
Oh, Laurie, I'm going to take your word for it on that one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But I will say, I appreciate the recommendation. I didn't realize Chuck Tingle also wrote, you know, sort of more mainstream stuff. And I love horror fiction. So I am going to check that out. Because as I mentioned on that show, I was familiar with Chuck Tingle's work such as Pounded by President Bigfoot.
Yeah, well, that's another book I'm never going to read.
Or Handsome Sentient Food Pounds My Butt and Turns Me Gay. 8 Tales of Hot Food. Or if you want something a little more reserved, there's Not Pounded by Anything. 6 Platonic Tales of Non-Sexual Encounters. little bit of something for everyone, does Mr. Tingle. Chuck Tingle, you have an open invitation to come on this show anytime, anywhere.
I'm not going to say anything. My mind's gone in a different direction there.
That's fair. That's fair. Next up is William. William says, hello, just wanted to say I'm a new listener and I found you guys randomly one day. I'm glad I did, as your show is entertaining and I listen to you all the time. I do have the time I potentially saw my mother's ghost in the house. The story is super short, but I thought you might appreciate it. To start, my mother was a very overprotective person, but an extremely sweet and loving lady. Every time my brother or father would act up or get lazy and not clean up the house, she would always get angry and say, you guys will end up seriously hurting yourselves if I wasn't around. Well, in 2008, she was diagnosed with cancer and sadly passed away in 2012. And wouldn't you know it, 2 months after her passing, I broke my ankle while playing football with my brother. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that, William. It's funny when the people who love us know us better than we know ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shortly after getting the surgery to put my ankle back together, I was back at home, and as I couldn't walk up the stairs to my bedroom, I had to sleep in my living room on a recliner. The recliner I was sitting in was facing the kitchen door, which was just an archway into the kitchen. One night, while my dad was working his night shift job, I woke up around 1 a.m. as my ankle started to get painful again. As I woke up, I saw a bluish glow coming from my kitchen, and from the bluish glow, my mother walked from the left side of my archway in the kitchen, stopped in the middle of the archway, turned her head to look at me with the most pissed off face I have ever seen, as if to say, you bastard, I fucking knew it. Then turned and walked away to the other side of the archway, disappearing, and everything got dark again. The only thing I could do was take my blanket, cover my head, and close my eyes as tightly as I could. I woke up in the same position, with the covers still over my head. I thought it could have been a dream, but my dreams are never really vivid like that. And I still remember it clearly to this day. William, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That sounds like a very mom thing to do. Like, look at you. Look at the stadia. I'm lucky enough, and I probably should be knocking wood as I say this, but I've never broken a bone. But my nephew, Nick's brother's kid, he had to have both his legs surgically broken. He had the first one done last year, and then the second one he just had done. And I want to say he's 13, maybe 12 or 13, something like that. And just being able to go through that, man, that kid is a hell of a lot tougher than I am.
Yeah, different bones hurt more.
So I'm told.
Legs really hurt.
They do, eh?
A lot.
Especially when they're broken by the butt of Frank's shotgun?
No. Most of my injuries are sort of sports related.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Neck, jaw, back, pelvis.
You broke
no,
your neck. No,
that's where I haven't
back?
broke.
Oh, okay. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Dislocated my shoulder, broke both arms, couple of fingers, both legs, both cheekbones. Nose 8 times.
8 times? Man, you and Mickey Rourke. And you didn't even have a boxing career that I'm aware of.
No, I just grew up in Yorkshire.
That's the equivalent.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's character building, isn't it? Ribs hurt more than most. I'd rather break my leg again than break my ribs because you can't do anything. Breathing hurts.
Yeah. A friend of mine broke her ribs playing soccer a long time ago, and yeah, she was in pain for a while. Yeah.
So don't wrestle drunkenly on Christmas Day, kids, with friends who are stronger than you.
That is official advice. I would extend that beyond the holiday season. I would say at any time. Don't drunkenly wrestle anyone stronger than you. There's actually I listened to a book a little while ago, Ringmaster, I think it's called, by I want to say Josie Reisman, I think is the name of the author. It's about Vince McMahon. This is a wrestling themed episode today. But there's a story roughly about the time they were going to have to stop taking steroids because the government was going to impose mandatory testing.
What?
I know, hard to believe.
They took steroids.
I should have warned you. I was going to give you some harsh truth here, Paul. My apologies. I should have let you down easy. But so anyways, as this was kicking off, they had one big blowout party to sort of celebrate the end of the good days, so to speak. And they were at the strip club. I can't remember where they were. I want to say somewhere in Ohio. They were in a strip club, all these wrestlers. And then Vince McMahon turns up, their boss. And ordinarily they did not party with the boss. but he was hammered. And so they thought, well, whatever. He's probably not going to remember anything that happens tonight anyways. But he was so hammered that he was like, you do some moves on me. Let's wrestle. And so they were doing these moves on him, which should not be done drunk anyways, but especially should not be done on a concrete strip club floor. Because remember, folks, while wrestling is predetermined, the outcomes are predetermined. Those folks take some, I know I'm blowing your world up here. Coming back from a long edit, which I'm very sad we can't play for you.
Eat your heart out, Chuck Tingle.
That's right. But anyways, Vince McMahon was drunk, had all these guys doing these wrestling moves on him, until finally one guy screwed up and hurt Vince. And one of the wrestlers said the way he looked at this guy, they could tell that what he was thinking was, whatever else happens tonight, I have to remember to fire that fucker in the morning. And that's exactly what happened. So yeah. If you like wrestling, Ringmaster by Josie Reisman, good book. If you are Paul, you can read the next story.
Okay, I shall try. And now my heart is broken. Taya writes, "Hi guys. I have a ton of encounters and experiences with the paranormal on Vancouver Island. I was born here and have lived all over the island at different points in my life. And here are some of my stories. Brennan may have heard this way back in the day, but I'm hoping that was so long ago that you're okay to read these with a new voice. First up, Victoria Golf Course. The information below has been paraphrased from Eve Lazarus's website. Eve Lazarus is an author who has written many books about local historical true crime stories. In 1936, Doris Gravelin's strangled corpse was found on the 7th fairway of the Victoria Golf Course. She had been assaulted and then her estranged husband Victor's body was found just off Gonzales Point near the golf course about a month later. The investigation helped the coroner's jury decide that Victor had killed himself after killing his wife. And soon locals started to report sightings of her ghost. According to a local legend, if a couple saw her, they'd immediately break up, and her ghost wouldn't leave until her son was told the truth about her murder. It was an early spring evening in the late 1990s, and as you know, Victoria is on the southern tip of Vancouver Island and surrounded by water, both ocean and lakes. So in early spring, it's got a lot of fog and mist by the water. My boyfriend and I would often go for long drives in the evenings, and since the Victoria Golf Course is a public road that runs through it, we would often drive through there. This particular evening had a full moon, and it was misty along the edge of the water, but the mist had not yet started crawling across land and onto the road. I was not happy with my boyfriend, due to finding out recently he'd been cheating on me, and because I was young and stupid, I'd kept that info to myself and had yet to confront him about it. I spent most of the drive staring out of the passenger window at the ocean on my side. As we approached the golf course area, I noticed that the mist was getting thicker. I looked out in the front of the car and saw that the mist had tendrils reaching across the road ahead of us. They looked like misty fingers reaching out of the ocean, as if it was trying to grab something off the golf course and drag it back to the sea. I then saw a figure standing at the side of the road a small distance ahead of us. It seemed to be glowing, but I assumed that since the figure was in white, this was due to the mist and the full moon shining through it. As we approached the figure closer, I could see that it was a woman, and I wondered why this woman was stood in the middle of the golf course alone at night for a second. But it wasn't that late, and the road did run through the golf course, so I kept watching her just in case she was in distress. As we came parallel to her, I saw that she was staring away from the road and looking towards the ocean. When my window came next to her, she suddenly turned towards me and put her finger on her lips as if to shush me. I was startled and turned to my partner to see if he had seen her, but he cut me off and dismissed me. Basically, he shushed me. I turned back to my window, but she was gone, and I could not see her in my side mirror. I turned around to see if I could see her behind us out of the back window, and I saw that glowing misty figure moving further out into the golf course. Well, there's somewhere I'd like to play around. That sounds great. I'm not aware of a haunted golf course here in England.
Yeah, it's that's probably one of Victoria's best known, if not Victoria's best known ghost story, is Doris Gravelin. And it's a beautiful course. That is, you're right next to the ocean. It's lovely. Again, I joke a lot about not liking Victoria. It's a really beautiful place. It just doesn't work for me. It's a stunning view. And actually, Taya, just up the hill. So if you're going towards the golf course from downtown, so you're going up Beach Drive, north up Beach Drive with the ocean on your right, there's a turnoff just before you get to the golf course. And I recall hearing from a friend's coworker that he saw a shadow person walk out of a mound of dirt at the end of that road. They were doing some kind of construction. There was just just a mound of dirt. And this guy, who was not at all inclined to this kind of thing, he saw a fully formed shadow person just walk out of it like it was a door and kind of stride off into the night. It really shook him up.
I fell down a golf course rabbit hole there and I was just checking out.
Oh.
I was just wondering how many golf courses you can have on such a small island, but you've got at least 3.
Yeah. I can think of 2 off the top of my head that are just in Victoria. And then you go up the peninsula, there's at least one more.
Does that ring a bell?
I don't know that one.
No, I can't remember the name of the other one I found. I was just seeing where they played the Canadian Open.
Oh, no, Shaughnessy Golf, that's Vancouver. That's over in the mainland.
Wikipedia lying to me again.
So Taya has another story. This one's from St. Anne's Academy. Taya says, Brennan mentioned St. Anne's Academy, and it reminded me of something that happened to me near there in the early 2000s. I was pregnant and living in an apartment building on the corner of Quadra and Southgate. Oh, okay, yeah. I worked at the Leather Ranch in the Bay Center downtown, and if it was dark, I would walk down Humboldt to Quadra instead of cutting through the St. Anne's grounds because it felt weird. I think this was while they were converting the St. Joe's building across the street from St. Anne's into apartments. Every time I was passing St. Joe's, a light would come on in a window on the top floor. I assumed it was a motion sensor or timed light. I didn't really think about it because I was pregnant and tired, just wanted to get home after being on my feet all day. One night I was walking home, and for some reason, I was watching the St. Anne's building as I was walking. I realized I was seeing some kind of dark figure up on the roof near what I think is a bell tower. I was suddenly all cold and scared. Then the light in the window at St. Joe's comes on and distracts me. When I look back at St. Anne's, the figure was gone. I wonder if whatever in one building was trying to keep my attention away from the figure so it wouldn't scare me and possibly put me into labor. And I mean, very possible, Taya. That is fascinating, though. I know that the buildings she's talking about, the St. Joe apartments, which, again, they're directly across from the St. Anne's grounds. I picked a mattress up for someone there once with a friend of mine. We had a gal friend who was moving, and she was being given a free mattress, so she couldn't carry it herself. And aside from the terror of having to hump that fucking thing down 3 flights of stairs because they didn't have an elevator, it just had a vibe to it. There was a very uncomfortable feeling. I wouldn't have wanted to live in there. It's a lovely building, but I wouldn't want to live there. All right, so I think we have time to read Taya's last story before we wrap it up.
Taya's final experience that she shared is from Ross Bay Cemetery. When my kid was young, we did a photo shoot with her and her friend at the Ross Bay Cemetery. At one point, we were down by the area where the St. Anne's nuns are buried, and I was to take some photos, but there was a man sitting on a bench facing the oceans down in the corner, some 30 or so feet away from us. I was figuring out where to place the 2 girls for a photo, and my daughter says, "We should face this way so you don't get that man in the background." "What man?" said her friend, and both of us pointed at the man and said him at the same time. The friend, her mum, and my husband all said, "Who on earth are you pointing at?" They couldn't see him, and yet we could. And then he was just gone. We quickly moved to another part of the cemetery after that. Thank you for how you guys share stories. I avoid the shows, TV and podcasts that are all about demons and it all being scary and evil. So I appreciate that you guys are curious about it all, but do not say you are experts. Thank you, Taya.
Well, thank you, Taya. As always, Taya's a longtime fan of the show. A long time ago, we got to meet in person. She actually gave me, back when I couldn't eat dairy, she gave me a giant bag of dairy-free cheese, which was wonderful. And fantastic stories. If stories from Victoria I wasn't aware of. And actually, when we finally do our Vancouver episode, probably, I think 217 or 218, we have a story from Taya as well, because her and I happened to find ourselves at different times in the same haunted building in Vancouver.
Marvelous.
Yeah. So we are headed off to do our Patreon live show, so we're going to wrap it up. But folks, thank you so much for your emails. I cannot tell you how much we enjoy doing this, how much we love reading your stories, hearing from you. And while this was primarily an email-centric show, we always check YouTube, Instagram, Spotify. We love reading your comments. Please keep sending them. Please keep posting them. You can email us at ghoststoryguys@gmail.com. We're on Instagram as The Ghost Story Guys. We are on Facebook as The Ghost Story Guys. Finally started a group. And I think that's... we're also on Reddit as r/Ghost Story Guys podcast. And Paul, where can folks
find me as Mysteries and Monsters across most social media networks and podcast platforms.
Fabulous. I'm Largely the Truth on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. And you can find my horror fiction show, Fear Daily, co-authored with Brandon Check Snyder, everywhere fine podcasts live. And finally, it would hardly be Talk Spooky if we didn't play a song. This time around, we are pleased to present a track from our new friends over at Punkerton Records. It's the latest released from Canadian folk punk legends, the Dreadnoughts. The Dreadnoughts originated not too far from my neck of the woods. They're from Vancouver, BC, though they are now, like many great Canadian artists, based out of New York City. We won't hold that against them, though. Something I've always loved about the Dreadnoughts is that they really do mix folk and punk together, and the new single we're going to play for you, Polka Pit, it's no exception. It is exactly what it sounds like. It is a mashup of polka and punk. I love it. I hope you will too. This single dropped on May 30th in advance of the full-length record, which will be out on September 19th. If you happen to be in Columbus, Ohio, the Dreadnoughts will be there on September 19th at Scully's Music Diner. They'll be there playing for an album release party. So again, if you happen to be in Columbus, check it out. Tickets are already on sale now, and again, I will include a link to that in the show notes. And if you like what you hear from the Dreadnoughts, check out the rest of their stuff. It's really, really great. I'm thrilled to be able to play one of their tracks on the show. Speaking of great music and live shows, I want to give a shout out to our longtime listener Liam and his band Bangers and Mash, who will be playing at the New Jersey Irish Festival on Sunday, June 8th at Monmouth Park Racetrack at 10 a.m. So again, that's Bangers and Mash at the New Jersey Irish Festival, Monmouth Park Racetrack at 10 a.m. on Sunday, June 8th. Go check out Bangers and Mash. You can also follow them on Instagram as Bangers and Mash Band. And if all goes to plan, we'll have a track from them on the next episode of Talk Spooky. Thanks again, folks. Again, Paul and I cannot tell you how much we appreciate your support. We love doing this for you. It is an honor and a privilege. We'll see you next week for episode 216, which I believe will be the haunting of Calgary. So if you have stories from Calgary, Alberta, now's the time to send them in. ghoststoryguys@gmail.com. Until then, though, we will leave you with the Dreadnoughts.